And here we go. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, with my co-host all dolled up from Sharby with the last seat number 5 with Stephen Bliss. Stephen Bliss has a very, very colorful record. I think probably most notably outside of LOOBY on Soul, which is what we'll get into today. You were an ex-senior artist at Rockstar Games from 01 to 2016, and now because the creator of LOOBY on Soul, you are here in the hot seat, and on the last seat. Everyone say hello to Dashi. And Stephen, my good man, how are you?
I'm good. You know, the winter we're going into with crypto really sucks, but you know, the team and I are we're really determined, and we've got some really good projects coming up that it's just proving that LOOBY has legs. You know, it's we're not being put off by what's going on outside. I don't even look at the charts anymore, and I'm just getting on with LOOBY because I enjoy it, and I believe in it. You know, and
There's
just going to sit out this crap that's going on at the moment, and wait until the bull gets back. You know,
some of the biggest uptrends and runs happen in the bear market, and also some of the biggest downtrends happen in the bull. So obviously, crypto's just gotten murdered the last couple of months. But to get to the origins of LOOBY on Soul, and we'll get through the lore and everything, but there's a mangaka called Natsuki Takaya. She had created Fruits Basket, which is one of the most popular shoujo mangas in the world at one point. And when asked about her main character Toru, is like, "Hey, how'd you think of that?" And she just said she popped up in her mind one day and said hello. Is that similar to how LOOBY popped up for you, or is that something that you had created years back, but nobody wanted to do anything with them, and now you're deciding to do something? Let us know.
I had an acquaintance that was very much in the meme coin space. Oh, still is, and he phoned me up. I used to work on Fear City with him, which is my NFT project from 2021 onwards. It's still kind of going, and said, "Let's do a meme coin." And I sent him a 40-page document of characters I've been developing over the past 30 or 40 years. Has been a lot because it's something I do for entertainment, is make up characters and make up stories. And the image he picked was one that my 5-year-old son had drawn way back, and I was like, wow, my 40-year career is reduced to my 5-year-old son has created this character. So anyway, there you go. So yeah, we developed him, and so he, you know, LOOBY came from the innocent mind of a 5-year-old, and now he's rather he's a bad boy, corrupt bad boy, but with a good heart.
So the origins of LOOBY, if we get some lore on the character, why is he a bad boy? Is he held too much as a bunny, or not enough? What were the major influences that took him down the bad boy path?
Well, there's a long history I wrote going back to his grandfather, who was an alien from planet Naxos, who crash landed on Earth and became the ruler of a particular nasty sewers, and bred with rats to make the baby that became LOOBY's father. And LOOBY's father escaped from that kingdom. And anyway, etc., etc. I've written it all out, and we're probably going to do the comic of all that at some point. But his parents were kidnapped by a company that experiment on them, and LOOBY goes to Mexico to become a wrestler. At the moment, I've just commissioned an 8-page mini comic, an Italian artist that I did a comic with last year, that was, after 2 years, was published last November by Scout Comics. So I got her. She's drawing up the LOOBY strip that I wrote, and it concerns him in Mexico becoming an undefeated champion of lucha libre and spending his money on building an army to get his parents back from this. I guess it would be like a what's it called? Elon Musk-esque Apple type experimental scientific company. And he's going to get his parents back. So that's, you know, instead of just being blah, 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 like talking about the lore of the character, I'm actually putting it into something real, which is going to be a comic. We're going to be releasing, I don't know at the moment, the plan is to release different pages, the different milestones we reach. And I think, I mean, I've already want to do a lot more than 8 pages. So that's a pretty substantial, and it's going to be digital to start with, and I would like to get it printed at some point. That's, you know, when the bull comes back and we get some money, I definitely will have that printed. You know, by then it'll be way more than 8 pages, I should think. So
have you ever thought about making a digital comic?
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's I mean, because it took 2 years to kind of like print the Thumper comic, the Fear City comic last year, I'm kind of like at the moment put off from going through that process again. So I think to start with a digital comic makes a lot of sense, and then at some point when we have, you know, money to spend, we'll get the paper comic out for sure. Yeah.
We could get you on VeVe. Their VeVe Comics Curator program comes out in a few months, and as long as the comic is finished, you could apply to be on there, and then see what it does digitally, and then maybe you could use that to fund the physical.
Yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. I did the comic to when was it, 23? I released it as an NFT, 24-page NFT comic. That came with music by a guy called Johnny Smoke, who's kind of sounds like Rage Against the Machine, and behind the scenes video, depending on what level of comic, from bronze up until diamond, whichever one you managed to get, depended on what you were given from behind the scenes and the music's number of tracks. So we did that way back, but technology wasn't great back then. So I'm hoping like VeVe would be great to see how digital comics have progressed since then. Yeah, for real.
That'd be great.
Sign me up.
All dolled up. Does LOOBY remind you of anyone? Kind of looks like a character out of Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't know if you ever played that game.
No. The only, well, because my son drew it when he did, I can only imagine he was inspired by whatever he was watching at the time, which was probably Dora the Explorer. He may have picked up on like Ratfink from posters I have around the flat, and being a Ratfink fan, I mean, the big bug eyes, bloodshot eyes, and I mean, that's, if I had drawn, and it would be, that's where the influence would have come from. So
how old is he now?
He's 15.
Oh,
so
wow.
Going into a really good phase where he's getting into vinyl, and we go to vinyl stores and we're working out together. And, you know, we've always talked about superheroes and comics and manga, and I make sure I read up on whatever he's, you know, whatever he's reading, like Death Note. What else was I reading? Goku, Dragon Ball Z, and like, so we can bond over that kind of stuff. And it also was really inspiring for me to kind of, you know, have those new influences. I mean, I lived in Japan for 4 years back in the 80s and worked for a fashion company, and I absorbed some of the culture, but I'm absorbing more of the culture now from my son's influence, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
My son's art is probably some of my favorite. So I have it framed throughout the house, but he just has so many sketchbooks, and he'll like create these characters. And it's funny because his siblings, he is into comics and anime, and Pokemon is a big obsession for him. And you know, his mind is just very different from that of his siblings, right? And so, but his art is always something. I'll go in his room and he creates these characters, and I'm like, who is this? And like, he'll just tell me the whole story, right? He can just like, his imagination is just amazing. But so I love that because it reminds me of my son, right? And he's
Yeah, that's
He
so.
is 13 now. But
Yeah, son
he's
went. He got into making sculptures, clay sculptures, and he used to watch a lot of YouTube tutorials, and now he makes really beautiful anime inspired sculptures that are really, really detailed, and it's way better than anything I can do in 3D. So it's beautiful how they get into creating. I love that.
Yeah, I bet he loves that LOOBY, his character. That's awesome.
You know what's so cool about it? And like, he's actually kind of nonchalant about it to the point where it pisses me off. Like, for fuck's sake, I took this character when you were 5 and into this 3-dimensional character that you can now play GTA, use the avatar in GTA 5 online. You know, you can be Looby in GTA 5, and also he's on Nifty Island. I mean, as a gamer, he should be like really all over it, but kind of what, you know, whatever. I don't know. Maybe he takes it for granted that I do this kind of stuff. You know.
So you mentioned Luby's dad before. Are we going to get an origin story about Luby's mom, or are you still working that in for a future comic?
Yeah, she's a hybrid rabbit human that escaped from a company called Synthetica, who kidnapped her back. And Synthetica was a company, a fake fictional company that I made for Fear City, and I did a open edition Synthetica movie poster as an NFT with audio galleries back in, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And I love the storyline of what I created. I actually did when Amazon were going to do a NFT platform, I did a whole new collection of 6 different animal hybrid robots, and did about 200 different traits, and then Amazon dropped the whole project. So I still have this NFT generative project in my hard drive. But from that, I took Synthetica, the tech company that has programmed these rabbits, these animals, to hybrid animals, to kind of take over Fear City and the world, and used it in Looby. So his mom is this kind of beautiful rabbit human hybrid, I guess Jessica Rabbit, but not as sexual. Yeah, and I really actually want to write their stories. I really want to start with the backstory of the grandfather. It's kind of like a Star Wars beginning. I'm already imagining the comic where he's escaping from his father, and but at the moment it's not relevant enough to the Looby project. It's kind of like something you do when we've gotten the Looby lore out. We go back in history, or we have flashbacks to his origins, you know. But I'm dying to get that story out. I'm really tempted to just keep writing pages and sending it to the artist that I'm using, and just keep doing it, you know, because it's fun. I love writing, you know.
That's what I'm doing with daCAT. The first comic has been written for a little while, and I think the artist is up to like page 7 of of drawing it, and I'm almost done with the second comic as well. And I wish there was a way. I mean, if you pay for multiple artists, you could do it, but I wish there was a way to have the art to get it really good. It takes so much time. You have to do the storyboard, you have to do the pencil, and then the coloring, and good art takes time. For the crypto, though, we just had Eddie Brown saying that he purchased a small bag of Looby tokens. We have the people welcoming him into the fam.
Very sensible.
For this, I couldn't find on the security on Gecko Terminal. Like, there's a couple, like daCAT's kind of victim of this, where like the top 10 holders have like 45% of the token, and that's true for a lot of tokens, but it doesn't say on CoinGecko for Looby. Do you know how well it's spread out, or is it kind of the same where, yeah, the top 10 people have a lot of tokens?
It should be on there. We definitely have the link on our website to CoinGecko. I don't know, these things are kind of like, if you don't pay them enough money, they kind of you drop down, don't you? So I can only imagine that's what's going on, or maybe we're not big enough for them to to bother giving us any attention. I don't know. We're on about 5 different platforms.
Yeah, so I mean, it shows that the stuff that it shows, like the airdrop is good, the bundle buy is good, like you have all of the green thumbs on there, but for whatever reason, it was just missing that info. That just might be a glitch with Gecko Terminal. The gas fees this morning were insane. Did y'all try to buy or sell any crypto this morning?
No.
It was at like 3 in the morning, whatever, or like to 6. When Bitcoin went down to like 74 something and ETH went down to like 1400, I went to buy like $400 of a random token, and it was like $50 gas fees. I was like, this totally reminds me of 2021. It was insane.
It's like Ethereum,
Yeah. Ethereum was nuts in gas fees. Anyway, hopefully we get a little reversal here. Obviously, you said before you were keeping your head down, just working, not paying attention to the charts, which is good for long-term stuff. But in the short term, the Fed has a emergency meeting like today, and they're in it right now, talking about rate cuts. If we do get those rate cuts and we have a bunch of money and money markets on the side that rip into the market, do you have anything planned for when the market does the reversal? Like, we're going to launch X, Y, and Z. Can you tease that?
Yeah, we have a marketing wallet that has a bit of money in it, quite a lot of money. And we're not spending that right now because it's not worth it. But as soon as it starts going up, we're going to be getting onto, bigger platforms, trading platforms, and spending a bit of the money. I'm adverse to spending money on influencers, just because I feel like people should be paying me to be on their show, which sounds a bit arrogant, but I get so pissed off with people asking for like $5,000 to be on a podcast that I'm like, fuck off.
$5,000's a lot.
Yeah, or what? You 500, like, pay me. So, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. We have to. I want to prove that if I'm going to pay to go on a podcast or a space, that is going to have like serious kind of effect on how many loobies we sell. Like, I need figures. I need podcasts to give me the figures of, if I'm going to spend that money, what am I going to get back from it? At the moment, it seems since November, Looby's been going, that it's kind of like a gamble with, and we've been ripped off a few times where, an influencer will turn up and ask for some money and we go for it. And then, turns out they're bullshit. But
it's tough. It's tough. It's a hard, like, in moments like today, with Stephen or Randy, like all of us, I was on a call this morning, and like, I'm not really worried about the market, right? But that was a big learning curve to get there, right? Stephen's energy right now is just like, okay, we're going to ride this out. Sometimes I stress more on like keeping the community calm or the people around me calm. Like, you guys, like, this is just a moment. It's going to pass, and there's all this fear, and people are, you get nervous. I guess I like absorb their energy, like in the communities around me. But I did want to say, like, as far as like spaces go, like this last seed, or I know you did the Shogun space, Stephen. There are really good groups out there and communities, especially on X. And sometimes, and then they don't charge, right? They don't charge to go onto their spaces. But finding those ones where there are people like you, where you're committed to your project, you have conviction, you guys are doing things daily, probably, right?
Yeah.
Like Sharby, or daCAT, like, we have all been working daily. And people want to find those communities. And so we just have to give them an outlet to find it. That's why we're doing this last seat, and we came together, Randy and I, to like give exposure to his community, our community, kind of join forces. But I get that sentiment, right? And so I think it's funny, like today it feels like, oh my gosh, the market, and people can be so like just down. And I, in the beginning, when I joined this space, which was by default because my husband was in the space, I think it would have really affected me. Whereas now I'm just like, it's okay. Like, we just keep working and grinding and, being positive, and hopefully people don't freak out too much. But I think we're going to be okay, everyone. Like, and the energy here on our podcast today is great because we're like, you know, it just is what it is. It's today, and no good news, no bad news. Sometimes there's just news, right?
I feel like I have the feeling that people in the space are so pissed off with scammers and people cheating, and you know, and people kind of like buying and then selling immediately. I think the whole system is rotten, and I feel like there's a hardcore of people that want the whole scene to be more honest and have more legs and more substance. And I think that's where LOOBY fits in. You know, I'm fully doxed and have a great team of people, and our holders are really, you know, we've pretty much got rid of the cheats, and all our holders now are kind of like serious, seriously hardworking, and really believe in LOOBY. And it's great. I mean, cheating at first really pissed me off, and I took it personally. But now it's like we got rid of all the flakes, and we're down to the hardcore, you know, people that really believe in it. But I am getting the impression that the scene, people want it to be more honest, you know, which is inspiring. I feel like we're still developing the whole vibe of the meme coin space is evolving, you know, a bit more human, a bit more honest. At least I hope so, you know.
There's daCAT hasn't really done any marketing yet as far as influencers, but I know all dolled up from Sharby, from her work there and her work on Hero, or I'm sorry, SHIRO with her husband Hero. They might have a little bit more insight on the influencers and all dolled up. What do you think is the best bang for your buck for those types of things?
Randy, you shouldn't ask me that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's hard because I think it fluctuates too. Like I've been here, not that I'm counting, I think like 807 days. But in that time, there's definitely been a shift, probably the last year, to what Stephen was saying, a huge shift. And like people are like putting their thumb down on these KOLs and holding them accountable, right? You're gonna always have bad actors. You're always gonna have beats. You're always gonna have scammers. You're always gonna have futters, people that are toxic to the space. But I do feel like if you continually are around the space, you'll come to know, like, good attracts good. It just happens. And so the good will come. You establish your community. You have your community grows. It's proof of work, right? So like it's taken the time I've been in the space for me to build up that trust, or build up that, like, what I'm saying here is I'm being transparent and honest and forthcoming with where we're at or what we're doing or what's the status. Sharby's gotten to the point after 2 years, we don't have to go into the Telegram and pin something every day in fear of someone leaving, or go and pin something on X every day and do a post because it might create fear and that we're going to go away, right? So it's taken time. And it takes time. There are still those bad actors in the space, as someone that you'll pay. And, you know, you'll see some KOLs that, okay, I'm going to charge this much. I'm going to call the project. But then they have insiders go and buy before they call, right? And then they call, and then the chart goes up, and then it goes back down because they sold, and then it's not at the threshold. And then it's all a game, right? Now they won't call it again because it fell below where, it's just messy. It gets so messy. And so it gives you that bad taste in your mouth. And it's happened so much that people aren't putting up with it anymore. They're just like, no. And so there is going to have to be KOLs that, if that is your career path and this is what you choose to do for a living, you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is and support the project, have conviction in it. And with Sharby, we didn't do any KOLs when we relaunched on Base, when we migrated over to the Base chain. But you know what we did do? We've met some really great people in the space, and we brought them on as ambassadors. So we made it advantageous for them. We know they're here. We know they show up every day. Hey, want to be an ambassador for Sharby? When you're on a space, mention Sharby. When you're in a TG private group, mention Sharby. And so we collected these people that we had met, and we've grown with them and made them ambassadors of Sharby. So it's not a one-off, one-shot KOL, you know, no, like we just haven't gone that route. It's been really just organic, homegrown, like marketing on our end too. And Sharby's never had a marketing budget. So that plays a factor. There are times when you are going to need that exposure though, right? We're getting ready to launch Sharby.fun platform and we'll need that. We'll just need to ramp it up a little bit. Because sometimes you can get in a closed loop too, even on X, as big as it is. It's like you'll go into a space and be like, I haven't even heard of this project, right? Or where have I been? So I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts, I guess, to that. But
how'd you get them to be ambassadors?
So what we did was we really just in all the spaces I've done and in the Telegram groups and the different projects and networking that Sharby has done, those people will stand out. Like there'll just be people that like stand out. And that's like, gosh, I would really love to have them be an ambassador for Sharby as well, right? And so really it just was that seeing them in the space daily, right? And saying, hey, let's work together. And I think that's kind of the shift that's happening is like Randy and I, right? We just met kind of by happenstance and then things just progress and you network and then you build those relationships. And then from 6 months ago, a year ago, now look where Randy and I are like, and I think that's what it's about. And that's what's going to change that perspective of memes, Loobies, daCATs, Sharbies. It has to. And we set that precedent. Because we're so early, I think it will transform the space and the perception.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a lot of collaborations with other coins that are at our level, like Hedge and Plath. Who else can do? And every 2 weeks I do a live stream on X where I'll draw or paint that collaboration, and so we're kind of like promoting each other.
Yeah, exactly. Because like a partnership announcement, like some projects are like, oh, let's partner with them. This is going to be phenomenal. We can, announce it on X, and then nothing comes from that partnership. And those are the ones for me that kind of get me. Like we want to collaborate, right? We want it to be going both ways. We want it to be advantageous for you, advantageous for Sharby, because we can do so much together. And so there are some where, we've partnered and been like, oh, like, it's just like, you're our partner and we did an X post. Now what? Like, have we helped each other at all or collaborated? Yeah. We're all busy building, but I think if you prioritize those and when you click with another project, hold on to that and use each other and capitalize on that human capital within those communities.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, I mean, it can take me a week to do painting as part of a collaboration, and there may, sometimes there hasn't been sufficient feedback, but sometimes we get whales from the other team. It pays off. It's a gamble. Generally, has paid off for us.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sharing communities. Yeah.
As far as ambassadors go, it's for me, I never really got into meme coins because a lot of them are just like, well, back in the day, they were just PFP projects. There's like, yeah, it's 10,000 of these NFTs. And, then slowly they morphed the NFTs into meme coins. But all the ones that I either sponsor the channel or have an affiliate thing with is on my X page, so people can see it right there. But it's not just mentioned. I go live every day. Like today, I'll go live twice a day. In April, obviously, there's not a ton of stuff because we're just in the middle of it. But in March, spaces every day, lives every day. February, so I keep the calendar booked, and I feel like if you can get someone that works for their bags, and there's a lot of people that do. Unfortunately, just a lot of people that are on spaces every day that they don't have that many followers. So if you can get that kind of Goldilocks zone of well, if you have a couple 100,000 followers, you're probably too expensive. And if you have, 2,000 followers, it might not be worth it because not a lot of people follow. But if you get that Goldilocks zone of like the 20 to 50,000 followers, they work for their bags, and they don't like every one of the companies that I do this with, they have legit revenues, and even like SHIRO and daCAT, they will both be turning profit later this year when they launch some of the comics, when they launch some of the other stuff they have, the merch. Similar to what you'll do, you'll use either the digital comic or whatever. Maybe you'll start a Kickstarter, and then you'll turn profit, and then you'll use those funds to do other stuff. So as far as ambassadors go, like again, try to find one of those. that would be it. I have no idea who though.
Yeah. I would imagine you give them tokens so that they're interested to stick with being ambassadors.
Yeah, so for mine, it's usually 75% cash and 25% tokens, but I give them the guarantee, I won't sell your tokens until we reach like a certain market cap. And then even then, I don't know if I'd sell all of them. I would just be like my job. So I have, there's a couple of ones that we did like one-offs on for Moon Credits and Crappy Bird. Is like, okay, if we reach here, then I'll sell like some of the tokens that you give. But it was a one-off thing. It was just like for a month, and it hadn't reached it. So, but at some point, going over to have like, I think for SHIRO, I don't know if I should say this publicly, but I'll do it anyway. SHIRO's like a $10 million market cap, give or take. I was like, okay, when we reach 100 million, I'll sell some of my tokens. This way, it gives certain people like that are buying in here, let them know exactly when I'm going to do it. But also, hey, don't do it on like a red candle so that the price is negatively affected. Do it on like a green candle so that the price is not the impact is like this. And you probably shouldn't do it all at once, because at that point, the tokens will be worth a lot.
Yeah.
You should probably do it just in steps, a little here, a little there.
So for Sharby being smaller market cap than like say for instance SHIRO, Stephen, like we did do that, but we do them in like a 3-month increment. So right now I have 3 ambassadors with Sharby, and it's 3 months at a time because and we check in daily, right? We have like chat and Telegram or whatever, or actually not daily, probably weekly, but they're just doing little bits and pieces and spaces and just really being a voice and Sharby within their communities and the places they visit on X. And that's the 3 months for us is like, okay, every month we kind of check in. So it's like a 3-month kind of ambassador agreement. And then every month we distribute some tokens, and they're happy with it, right? You just come to a mutual agreement. They're happy with it. We're happy with it. They're putting work out there. They're putting Sharby's name out there. They're talking about Sharby on spaces. We're getting that exposure. But, maybe after the 3 months, something in their life changes and they're like, well, I'm going to move on. And that's okay. Like, okay. So we kind of that's how we structured it. And I will tell you, it's been working really well for us. It's nice to have them, and they enjoy being part of Sharby. So, I mean, there's just ways you got to work it, right? You got to find what's a good fit for LOOBY and its culture or its energy. Like, okay, we just want to find people that are a good fit and fit in here. And, I think we did that with Sharby, just finding some kind of influencers in the space that can share and be part of our community.
How do you know who you can trust?
If the account is old, or if the account on X like joined in 2019 or 20, like, okay, they've been here for a while, see how the followers are, and then also see if you're in the Web3 space and this account has, let's say, like 30,000 followers, but none of the people that you follow or follow you are following this person, that's a little bit of a red flag. But I've seen accounts with like 100,000 followers, but they get like 1,000 impressions, and it's like, okay,
engagement is really low. Yeah. there's just like, I think there's just ways you can go and vet, like, right. X, just looking at the history of the account, because unfortunately as well in this space, you can buy followers and you can also buy accounts you can go on to the web and buy an X account from 2009 if you want. So you kind of have to do your footwork and just like, okay, I'm going to go look at this page, look at the replies, look at the comments. You can see what they've replied to. You can't see what people like anymore, but that's here nor there. But, you just kind of, and for us, the ambassadors we have now were people, actually 2 of them were in Sharby in the very beginning of 2023. And like, we circled back, we circled back and they're back, part of it again. And another was actually, I met through my hot seat. We started networking and they had their own project. And then that project, kind of did some stuff. And so then they came on board to Sharby. Like, I just reached out and I'm like, you're on Spaces every day and we're friends now. Like, hey, do you want to be an ambassador for Sharby? Throw it up in your X header. Talk about it when you're on a space. If you can get in some Sharby talk, do some posts on X, and it just kind of flows that way. So there are ways to vet, and right. You can search them on Telegram. You can search usernames and see what groups they're in, see what projects they're in, see where they're at if you have it in common. And I think there's just ways to kind of go see if they can check the boxes for you.
Yeah, good point. So we would be great to have that, but at the moment, I think we're just writing out, what's going on.
There's a lot of times I look at the replies of what they post on X, and I'll go like way back. And if there's, I mean, you want everyone, you want a very diverse amount of people in your group, but that doesn't mean they have to like work for you. Like, there's a couple of people like I would say like in the VeVe Akomi fam that they don't work for the company, but they're big bag holders, and they like there are fudders, there are people, there are haters, and there are people that like will say some just unhinged stuff at these fudders, and it's just like, I'm glad you're on our team. This is probably why you don't work for the company. So yeah, that helps as well. If they're always like super negative, okay, maybe you don't want that person representing you. Interviews are really good too, if they're on YouTube, or especially if they're docs as well, that'll help. Not to saying that, if you're not doxed, it can still be fine, because some people just want that privacy. But yeah, those are some of the things that we look at. Some of the other things. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, and as you're like this really organic marketing perspective, like, even finding the really good spaces. I mean, there's spaces on X all day, every day, right? And you have it 24 hours a day. Just putting your PFP in the crowd. Sometimes, like, you can just join, and that PFP's, and someone would see it and they click on it. And then, if it's a day where you just don't have it, I mean, just doing that sometimes, just doing the little things like that can help.
Yeah. That's a good one.
On Spaces right now, there's 5 spaces going on. I have no idea what they're about. Well, one's about the Trump tariff stuff. One's about gaming and culture. I accidentally clicked on that. A lot of it about crypto though. Yeah, hopefully and this is, I think it's horrible when people lose money, but one of the silver linings about the trade war here is that not everyone will survive. And same thing with bear markets. Not everyone's gonna be really smart with their capital allocation, and they'll overspend, and then they won't make it. But that cream will rise to the top, and the ones that do, people are like, oh, okay, what did you do to survive? How did you go in? And that just helps the better projects.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So on let's say in the next year or so, you sell some comics digitally and physically, and there's a lot of interest for LOOBY. You spread the awareness. If someone decides like, hey, I want to make a show or do an anime, what would the theme song be for LOOBY?
Love that.
Wow, what a question. I did play with one AI of a death metal version of LOOBY, you know, but it was a little bit too abrasive, and I can imagine if I didn't know LOOBY and I switched on to that, I would be like, wow, this is terrifying and it's hurting my ears. But I imagine it would be something a bit more polite than death metal. Something in kind of melodic punk pop.
I have an idea. It's actually one of my favorite covers, inspired by your shirt. The Ramones with "What a Wonderful World." I feel like that would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cute, with him singing it on a spaceship.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Oh, I like it.
yeah, that'd be cool. And I would love to someone pick up, you know, and finance an animation series. But I will always remember this question. In fact, it will play on my mind, and I will have to create more LOOBY songs.
Do it.
But we,
Yeah.
you know, our community are forever making LOOBY songs in AI. In fact, there was one guy who he actually recorded himself singing a LOOBY song. He wrote a LOOBY song and played piano, you know, organically played piano, singing a LOOBY song, which was really amazing. LOOBY, smoking a doobie. It was just beautiful kind of like blues song, you know. That's one of the things I love about the scene and the community, is the way that the fan art and the music and the you know, the gifs and the animations is pretty amazing, you know. It's really amazing.
I haven't heard doobie for a long time. My dad used to sing that when I was little.
It's a good
I think sometimes the world needs a little bit of old fashioned, and that would be a fun theme song. I would play that. I mean, I do that in general sometimes. Like, I'll just be in the car and I'll play some old theme songs from Victorious or Zoe 101. I don't know if I don't think you guys have y'all ever seen those shows?
Victorious. No, I haven't
Yeah.
seen. What is that?
It was very big when I was very small. It was like 09, 2010. It's about these kids that go to like this special high school, like for music and art. And they had a crossover with iCarly once. It was just a good, it was just a fun show. And thinking about it now, some of the jokes, because it was by that guy, Dan Schneider, he was the one that kind of got accused. And I'm pretty sure he did some of the not great things with the kids, just very inappropriate. But yeah, he did that show. So I hate to give credit to Dan Schneider, but damn it, was he good with TV?
Right. Well, so he's not making too many shows at the moment.
I hope not. I hope he's banned forever. But you know, I mean, maybe if he has an adult cast, an all adult cast, and there's no kids, maybe, I don't know. I'm probably not the person to be judging for that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the career ending stuff, isn't it, when that happens?
Yeah, I don't know. Hollywood is weird when you get these, like, people can do some pretty awful things, and then 20 years later they do they go to rehab, and then they have like this rebrand, and it's yeah, I don't know. People do this. I think Robert Downey Jr. is a good example of that, where he was just, you know, like, he was an addict for a while, he was drunk, famously walked into somebody's house thinking it was his own and fell asleep on the couch. And now, like, I love him. You know, Iron Man.
Yeah, I saw a thing on Instagram the other day. It was a recording of a show called Truth or Dare, and this woman had managed to get to $500,000, and she had to answer one question, truth or dare, and she would get the $500,000. And if she lied, they knew that if she was lying or not, she would lose the money. And the question was, has your father been convicted of child abuse in the past? So she's there crying, saying, you know, like, oh, I can't answer this, I can't answer this. And he's like, well, you're going to lose $500,000. And then she's like, her dad's in the audience and he's looking pretty pale. And in the end, she's like, yes, he was. But she gets the $500,000, but her dad's been like exposed. Turns out he was a Mormon. So his community of the patriarchal system had said that he has to have a wife that's under 18. And that was his excuse. Well, at least I married her.
Was she like 17 when it happened, or was she like, ooh, nobody knows?
I don't know. It's pretty dodgy. It's and illegal. So anyway, yeah, I don't think you come back from that one.
No, I mean, at least she got $500,000 out of it. I hope she like gave her father something, or maybe not. If it, I guess it depends on. Sharby, you're you're a girl. What do you think of this situation?
Ugh. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem answering it. Like, own your. I'm all like, you own it, yeah. But I mean, if she's a product of her environment, like, I mean, you could only imagine. So I don't know, but money will make people do
yeah,
wild things, and you question character. I was actually watching a show called The Challenge yesterday from 2016. It was like on MTV. And at the end, you know, you have a partner or whatever, and they did the finale, and it's like you do all these challenges at the end. Well, on this episode, the partners were rivals from previous seasons, and they went through Europe, and I guess there was a point system. Well, at the end, the final two got first place, and it was $275,000. And you know, their team, it's a team partners through the whole show. They couldn't have done it without each other. But on the final race thing, whoever had the most points got to decide if they split the 275 with the partner or they kept it all for themselves. And so the guy last night on the challenge, he's been on like 13 seasons of this show or whatever. His name's Johnny Bananas, or he goes by Bananas. So it's him and her, and they're standing, like, it looks like they're in Scotland, right? They're like standing out in this open rocky field, and he's like, well, Johnny, you had the most points. Are you going to split the 275 or take it all for yourself? And I'm like, he's going to split it. Like, what human? Like, he wouldn't have made it without her, right? This was his partner the entire season. And he took it all for himself. And he had no shame about it. And Hero and I were just like, what the? Like, but you're like, my humanness, I couldn't do it. Even if I despise the person, if someone helped me get to this point, I couldn't take it all. I just couldn't live with that. And he had no problem. And she's crying, and just like she like falls on the ground, and it was very dramatic, and it was just sad. But he didn't care. Like, they did an after show afterward, and he's like, I took it. It's life-changing money for me. Sorry. Like, oh my gosh, it was wild. It was wild. But anyway.
That was split the 275, or it was 550, and then
no, it was 275 for first place. But what they had done in the last challenge or the season finale is it was points. So like on your times and the puzzles, like you were collecting points. But to this last moment, you didn't know if Sarah had the most points or Johnny, and it ended up Johnny had the most points, and so TJ, the host, was like, do you want to split the 275 with her, or do you want to take it all? And he took it all. The other two teams, second and third place, they split it. But he took it all and left her with nothing.
So
that's capitalism for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I was just thinking money.
If his life-changing amount was 275, then I think 137.5 is probably also pretty life-changing for him. I don't know what she did in the previous season to make him do this. Maybe he's just a sociopath, or like if she was just a raging, horrible person that like kicked puppies, yeah, sure, I wouldn't give her any money either. But I don't know if she was just like a competitor and like, I could never like. Especially,
so this show was called Rivals. So what they did was they took rivals from past seasons and made them partner. So there was already animosity between the two. But they like throughout the whole season on this episode, they had kind of become friends, and he was like, "You're my friend now, like let's squash the past." You know, it's like a freaking MTV show. Like they had done challenges, and you know, they had their issues, but I mean, they spent this whole season totally connected and just slaying every challenge they did together. They were just really great teammates. They worked really well together. So throughout the whole season, you're like, well, they've grown really close. Like, you know, he can't like burn her. Like he's gonna split it, and he didn't. But he said, well, for you it was about winning, and for me it was always about the money. And I was like, oh, that was okay.
Yeah, this kind of thing is inspiring for stories, Looby, you know. So it's always good to hear these stories and kind of think, well, how can I adapt this to what I'm working on at the moment? You know?
I got to ask a question to the both of you. Just curious in my mind. Kind of when we started talking in the beginning. When it comes to the comic or writing a comic, right? Is it like where you sit down and you write and you're like, oh, I need to do 3 pages today? Or is writing a comic more about like 2 a.m., holy shit, I had this thought, and you get up and you write it down and then you like run with it the next day? Or you're at the grocery store and you see something, and in your phone, you just make like a note, like a voice note? Or I'm just curious, like how it comes to be, because, you know, for me, I've always, in academics or in school, it's like I always like, hey, got to sit down, got to write a paper, and you write the paper. I've always done it in one sitting. Like I was never a student that like I'd go back to it and then I think and then I'd go back. Like, so I'm just curious, because I'm so foreign to me the thought or the process of how writing a comic comes to be. I'm just curious, a little insight.
I will start with the character and put the character in various situations. For example, I did Looby sitting on the back of a monkey wearing a pig mask, and I thought, oh, right, monkey magic. That's the caption for that. And I thought, all right, well, this inspires a story about Looby joins the circus, and he's holding a saw in the picture. And he saws a monkey in half, and the monkey's wearing a pig mask, and the story will start developing like that. So he gets fired from the circus. So at some point, there's going to be a Looby comic like Looby joins the circus, and the conclusion will be he gets fired for cutting a monkey in half. So it's like switching on a tap. Like if I think, well, I've got to write another 10 pages of the Looby story, I'll be like, all right, the last one started with he's collecting an army together. So what's going to happen next? And then I'll start just imagining what the story is. But it generally starts with the seed of an image. Like, who is Looby? Who is he? Where does he come from? Why does he look like a rat, but he looks like a rabbit, but he's human? And why has he got red skin? And, you know, I'll just ask myself those questions. Yeah, so the boring is the seed.
There's my friend Ty, who's a bit of a writer as well. He says that he likes to figure out the ending first and then write. And I cannot write like I have no idea how daCAT is going to end. I have these notes of like just like certain events that'll happen in the there's a lot of these that'll happen throughout the story. But if I really want to, like, I could go right now and be like, okay, try to get a couple, like, the big ideas and the big themes and the jokes, those are all in my head and in my notes. And there's the last, I don't want to do spoilers. First one's not even out yet. There are certain parts of the story where it's like, I know exactly what's going to happen and it's going to be awesome. But to get to that part of the story, I have to fill it with certain things where, like, you can't just throw in something. It has to have a build up. Why are these characters doing this? And also, you know, like, you have to flesh out. I mean, they could all say certain things, but you have to say them in a way that matches their personality. Say them in a way that goes along with the theme of that specific comic. And I also want to make it so that if daCAT and let's say Sharby and her Shishi characters, they are talking about something, and then suddenly it switches to like the mollusks, or suddenly it switches to you know, tsunami and this volleyball thing, and like I want to make the last line of dialogue be like, oh, I wonder what's happening with the cats, and then go to the cat world, and then like, oh, what is this the dog world that's invading us? Like, what in the yarn balls do they want? And then switch to the dog world. Just because like if a character does one thing, make it lead into another. This happens, and because of that, then this happens. So that really gets, unfortunately, that's the bulk of the time where I don't, not, it's not that I don't want to write that, it's that that's the stuff that like you have to do to get to the stuff you really want to. But unfortunately, yeah, like I'll be waking up from a dream like, oh, this will be a great sequence, and I'll put it in my notes, or I'll be at the gym, whatever. I'll be talking to myself. I probably look so crazy to a lot of people like in real life. I'll be like doing sets at the gym, and I'll be like, oh, daCAT's gonna say something funny here. That's my erratic answer. Sorry, that was so long.
Yeah,
no, I love it.
Difficult, aren't they? Because everybody knows the ending of every story. It's very hard to kind of be original when it comes to an ending. Is it going to satisfy people? And then you know, if you're going to continue the story for a number of years, or the character for a number of years, there can never really be an ending, unless you're going to just stop that character, move on to another one. There's always going to be like, I mean, in the meantime, there's punchlines that end the comic, but never an ending of like, he's an old man in a rocking chair telling a story and then he dies.
The problem that I'm going to see myself having is the one that Supernatural had, where Supernatural, they started off just fighting like, you know, ghosts, and then eventually there was demons, and then there was angels, then God brings it, like, so like eventually X amount of comics down the line is going to be, hey, the power scale, like you started off with just like kind of fighting each other, and then okay, we fight this person, and then you combine forces to fight this newer, more powerful enemy. There's going to be at some point like, okay, who are we? We're fighting this like intergalactic space god, and it's just like you can't top that. Like you can't, and not that there's going to be an intergalactic space god. I'm just making stuff up, but at some point it'll just get ridiculous. And I think that, and also like the filler, like there's some, I know a lot of people hate filler on like certain animes. Oh, I'll get to the story, but some of my favorite episodes, like in Suicide Squad, one of my favorite scenes is when these bad guys are all just at the bar, like having a couple of drinks, because like that interaction, and not everything I feel like has to be story driven. Like give us some really cool scenes. And like people say like Toy Story 3 was such a good ending. Why would they ruin that? Like, well, I want to spend more time with my favorite characters. I want to see what happens the day after Happily Ever After. Like you don't just stop your life after your beautiful picture perfect wedding and the honeymoon. Like you want to see like what new adventures happen. You like these extra lines of dialogue. It's like new DLC. And why would you want to? I feel like I'm going on a tangent. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like Tarantino will have 10 minutes of a bunch of gangsters having a conversation, and that's fantastic. You know, I guess you get to know the characters a bit more, but it's about entertainment. You know, you may not need that 10 minutes of conversation, but it's funny.
Yeah, like I want to see LOOBY's adventures of finding out what happened to his parents, and but I also want to see LOOBY's take on like Bigfoot or La Llorona. I want to see it all. Like I know people won't care about LOOBY's opinions on the most recent TikTok trends, but I want to see a story where LOOBY is on this human planet world and they're scrolling through it and like, oh, what do you think of the ice bucket challenge? Like I want to know what LOOBY thinks of that. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been since I started LOOBY, I keep thinking I have to relate everything to crypto and green candles and red candles and the restrictions that I see other meme coins putting on themselves to the imagery is so limiting, and people have criticized me in the past for not making LOOBY as meme centric as it should be, because it's supposed to be a meme coin, and people say it's not a meme coin. I'm like, well, it's an art coin then, you know. People say it shouldn't be so character driven, but I don't see why I need to just have him kind of like flying through space on green candles. I want him to be a wrestler, and I want him to like join a circus and get fired, and you know, I want short stories of him in horror movie situations, you know. Just that's the way it has to be with LOOBY. And the reason we're still going is that it's about the character in the long term. Will the character work in Web 2? Will it work as an animation? Will it work as a comic? I think a lot of meme coins are really limiting to just being a meme coin, which is why there's not kind of enough life in them, you know. People buy and then they flip.
I don't know what this is called, maybe like masochism or something, but I typically don't like feels, like when a character or a show like makes you like feel something, you get emotional, but every now and then, I don't know why, I just like getting my heart ripped out, and I just like, oh, this character died, this is awful, now I have an excuse to drink and eat ice cream. I don't know, do you think LOOBY would ever go there? Because I'm struggling with this decision with daCAT as well. Do I do that to my fans? Do I make them cry, or do I just keep it lighthearted, and maybe LOOBY sells his bathwater? Maybe I'll have Sharby and Shishi sell their bathwater because reasons. I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to be as powerful as that, to be able to write a story where it makes people cry. I mean, the best songs have that influence on you, don't they? Best movies, best TV shows can make you feel something. I don't know if I've ever felt anything from a comic more than being entertained or thinking about politics. I'm going to set it as one of my pursuits now, is to make people cry. I mean, I can do that over a drink or on a date, but about writing, that takes skill.
Maybe. I mean, there's so many things in the world that I am horrible at and not good at, but I think from the amount of manga I've read and shows that I've watched, like I could probably make people feel something in just like 1 or 2 pages, sometimes even with just a line. That might be one of the rare things that I'm good at. So be prepared, Sephiroth, and maybe the 3rd comic.
I guess having his parents kidnapped when he was a kid, you know, there's a post I made recently where his mum's cuddling him and he's a little LOOBY. You know, there has to be a certain amount of emotion within any story. You know, you have to make people love the character. I have thought recently, well, he keeps mentioning his mum and dad a bit too much in my Twitter posts. You know, is that not cool? And is it cool to kind of mention your mum and dad? But it's a central part of his motivation as to kind of why he becomes a tough guy and forms an army. It creates, you know, motivation as to why he's going to war. Otherwise, it's kind of pretty empty, you know.
I mean, there's definitely panels and art that could make you feel, but I like that like line of dialogue, like like it's in Land Before Time, like the first one. Yeah, the fight is cool between the mom and the T-Rex, and it's you know, it's tragic, but it's like the dialogue, just like "I'll always be with you, Littlefoot." You know, I think it's the dialogue that kind of sends it over the edge. That kind of just like in the Bye Bye Butterfree episode of Pokemon, like I'll tell your friends that you're going away, but you might be back someday, maybe. And just oh god, the feels getting all filled up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to set that as something to challenge today, to like imagine a 4-page story to make people cry. And that's my motivation. Can I do it? Can I achieve it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to make you all
do it. I cry really easily, though. I'm a crier.
All right,
And when
good. Well,
I feel I cry. Like it can be good, it can be bad.
all right.
I feel it.
I'll send you the story before it gets drawn and see if you cry. You can be my cry tester.
I will test, and I'll be very honest with you.
Good.
You're gonna have to wait for the third book all dolled up, but I'll do it too. I think the thing that's worse is like killing a character that people love, and I'm gonna get really weird with it.
Yeah, when I first started writing the 50 stories I had a load of characters with the NFT series. The first story I wrote killed off all the characters in the first day, and the guy who was financing the project was like, "No, you can't do that. You can't kill everyone off on the first day." I mean, I guess he had a point. Thing is, with comic strip, you can do anything. You can bring them back to life the next day, can't you?
It's true, especially if you believe you can bring them back as a ghost, bring them back as a zombie, multiple universes, bring them back from I do the Marvel thing.
Or it was all a dream, or it was all a parallel universe.
I do love the multiverse stuff. The dream ones, they happen. I don't know. We'll see. Although we've been going about an hour right now. Although, what else you got for my boy Stephen?
Well, I'm working on a series of NFTs right now, and that's fun to put together. So I'm doing like 3 different themes, like horror, friends, and science fiction and other stuff. So we're working out the logistics of releasing LOOBY NFTs at some point. I've also started working on a generative NFT series as a side project in the background, but that's going to have to be a major release when people are actually spending serious money on NFTs again, if that ever happens. I want it to be a release of 5,000 generative NFTs, but we'll see. The PFP collection. So that's good. That's what's going on right now. Oh yeah, and LOOBY jewelry. If you can see that.
Is that a razor blade?
Yeah, razor blade, and then his nose, because his nose is so long, goes around the back there. And
That is so cool.
That's cool.
There's a company called ARQX, ARQX, that are doing them. You know, they're doing jewelry for all major meme coins that they like.
That's awesome.
So check that out. So yeah,
I will.
But apart from that, we're doing a lot of artwork and animation as well. I'm looking forward to sharing the GTA 5, LOOBY and GTA 5 footage and Nifty Island footage. That's some of my favorite stuff within the LOOBY project. One of the admins has been developing that for a while, In fact, there's 2 3-dimensional LOOBY we have. And one is after the other, like chasing himself, like Terminator. Yeah, so I've probably forgotten something, but I think that's enough for today.
Very good. All dolled up. You got something?
Oh, just thank you. Really great chat, great time. Nice seeing you again, Stephen. And I'll wait for the cry. And Randy, I'll wait till the 3rd comic, and we'll see what progresses. But
yeah, thanks for having me back on, Randy, and lovely to see you again, Darby.
yes.
Take care.
Of course.
See you soon.
Yep. Thank you for joining. Bye, Dashi.
Bye, Dashi.
Bye. Yeah.